3 weeks ago, you handed your boat to a yard for a few maintenance items. The bill was $11,400. The mechanic who did the work earns $26 an hour. The yard billed $150 an hour. Every part was marked up 40 to 60% above retail. 10 of these repairs can be done by anyone with basic tools in a weekend for 1/10 of the cost. Who taught you that you could not do this yourself? In the 10th place, bottom painting sits at the heart of the boatyard profit machine. A yard will quote anywhere from $2,400 to $6,000 for a 2-coat anti-falling job on a 30-foot fiberglass hull. That bill covers labor, surface prep, and a markup on paint that borders on the absurd $100 to $300 per gallon, with 2 to 3 gallons needed. Yet the same paint lands in your cart for $500 to $1,500 total if you buy retail. The rest is labor, billed at $150 an hour, while the mechanic scraping your hull earns just $26 an hour. For most owners, the yard's estimate is gospel. One Long Island sailor says, "I take whatever the yard tells me and triple it, then I know what it will really cost," echoing a truth that has become survival wisdom. But here is the part the industry does not want you to know. This is a weekend job, not a specialist operation. 8 to 12 hours with an orbital sander, rollers, a respirator, and a few tarps. The steps are brutally simple. Haul out, sand, wash, tape, roll 2 coats, and let it cure. Disposal rules are straightforward. Collect the scrapings, use a waste bin, and follow marina guidelines. Most states allow owner-applied anti-fouling, though some marinas, especially those owned by corporate chains, ban DIY work to keep the labor in-house. That is not about safety. It is about protecting a markup that turns a $700 supply run into a $5,000 invoice. The only real barrier is the story you have been sold, that you need a certification to paint your own hull. In reality, the only thing standing between you and a clean, protected bottom is a willingness to pick up a roller and reclaim your boat from the yard's ledger. Number 9. The raw water pump impeller swap is the fastest route to exposing the diagnostic upcharge game. Boatyards will pad the bill for this job with engine hours and diagnostic fees, turning a 30-minute preventive task into $250 to $400 on a line item. The reality is a replacement impeller kit lands in your hand for $30 to $60, and the only tools you need are a wrench set and, if you're unlucky, a basic puller. The steps are brutally simple. Release the belt, crack the pump housing, pull the old impeller, lube and slide in the new one, replace the gasket, and tension the belt. That's it. No scan tool, no specialist, no $150 an hour labor. The telltale signs are overheating, squealing, or a dry pump, and they are obvious to any owner who has spent a season afloat. Yet the yard will still bill for inspection and test run, as if this were heart surgery. The real trick is fear. If you get the reassembly wrong, you could fry your engine, but the service manual makes it plain. Torque the bolts, check for leaks, and you're done. Every year, thousands of owners pay triple for a job that takes less time than brewing coffee. The impeller swap is the first domino. Once you do it yourself, the whole labor markup illusion starts to crumble. The only thing the yard is really selling here is your own hesitation. 8th place, the sacrificial anode swap is a masterclass in manufactured complexity. These are the zinc or aluminum blocks bolted to your prop shaft, rudder, or hull, tiny, unassuming, and critical for fending off corrosion. At the yard, corrosion service appears as a $200 to $400 line item, padded with the mystique of electrochemistry. In reality, anodes are cheap, $30 to $80 a piece at marine suppliers, and the job is so basic it barely justifies a coffee break. The only tools required are a wrench, a dab of anti-seize, and a willingness to get your hands dirty. Unbolt the old anode, wire brush the contact area, torque the new one to specification, and document the swap with a quick photo. The only real technical decision is metal choice: zinc for salt water, aluminum for brackish water, magnesium for fresh water. The rest is routine: inspect at every haul out, replace if pitted or half gone, and keep a log for your insurance file. Yards will bill this as a recurring inspection and replacement service, but the labor is measured in minutes, not hours. The markup is pure profit, repeated every season. Owners who do this once realize how much of the yard's business model is built on jobs like this: mundane, necessary, and grossly overbilled. Every anode you replace yourself is a small act of rebellion against the cycle of dependency. Number 7. Seacock packing replacement is where caution and cost collide, and the yard cashes in on both. Here's the pitch. A leaking Seacock is a high risk and an insurance-triggering hazard, so only a certified technician should touch it. That story turns a 1-hour ring swap into an invoice of $200 to $600, padded with compliance language and a nervous nod to US Coast Guard rules. But the actual job is simple. Shut off the through hull, remove the valve cover, pull the old packing, clean the seat with solvent, and press in a new marine-grade packing ring that costs $15 to $40. Reassemble the valve, torque the bolts. Usually, 15 to 20 foot-pounds is all it takes, and then pressure test for leaks. The only tools required are a socket set, a torque wrench, and a little marine sealant. For most boats, it is a 1 to 2 hour task, not a surgical procedure. Boatyards inflate the risk, not the labor. They will warn that improper packing means catastrophic flooding, or hint that insurance will deny any claim if you touch the valve. In reality, the US Coast Guard requires only that Seacocks be serviceable and free of leaks. Most insurers just want a documented leak test, something any owner can do with a flashlight and a paper towel. The markup is pure psychology. Material cost is trivial, but the fear premium is massive. The only real danger is letting someone else profit from your uncertainty. Once you handle your own Seacock packing, the mystique of marine plumbing evaporates, and with it, another line on the yard's invoice. Number 6. Teak deck recaulking is where the yard's profit machine trades brute force for patience, and charges you as if both are rare commodities. The quoted bill for a standard 30-foot deck runs from $1,500 to $5,000. That is for a job that, stripped of its mystique, costs an owner $200 to $400 in materials and 6 to 10 hours of slow, methodical work. The real labor here is not technical, it is about attention to detail and the willingness to wait for caulk to cure. Boatyards bank on the fact that most owners see old, cracked seams and picture a catastrophic leak, not a cosmetic nuisance. Their pitch is urgency. They say if you do not recaulk now, water will rot the subdeck. But what actually happens in the yard? A rushed scrape out, a bead of generic caulk, and a bill padded with specialty labor, all to cover a job that demands only patience and a steady hand. Here is the arithmetic. Marine-grade polysulfide or polyurethane caulk runs $120 to $180 for enough to do a 30-foot deck. The only tools required are a plastic scraper, a caulking gun, and masking tape. The steps are brutally simple. Dig out the old seam, clean with solvent, tape the borders, lay a bead, tool it smooth, and let it cure for 24 hours. The only real challenge is resisting the urge to rush. Mistakes come from impatience, not lack of skill. The yard's markup is not about safety or certification, it is about turning a day's worth of slow work into a 4-figure invoice. Owners who reclaim this job discover that the so-called expert finish is usually just a fast one. The money you save is not just in your pocket, it is in the pride of knowing your deck is sealed right, because you took the time the yard never will. Number 5. Bilge pump replacement is where the safety narrative gets weaponized for profit. The yard pitches this job as a wiring labyrinth, quoting $300 to $600 for what amounts to a 1-hour, 2-wrench swap. The industry script is always the same: if you get the wiring wrong, you'll sink. But the real risk isn't electrical, it's financial. A direct replacement 12-volt pump costs $80 to $150 at retail, and the only tools required are a screwdriver, some hose clamps, and a $15 multimeter to check polarity. The actual steps are brutally clear. Disconnect the battery, unbolt the old pump, pop the hose and wiring, mount the new unit, and run a test with a bucket of water. Float switch test? Flip the lever and watch the pump cycle. Hose routing? Use the existing run, clamp it tight, and check for kinks. No marine engineering degree required. Capacity is the only real decision. For most 30-footers, a 2,000 gallon per hour pump is standard, and anything less is just yard upsell. As for regulatory red tape, the United States Coast Guard only cares that your pump is USCG approved and can clear the bilge. There is no certification for swapping a like-for-like unit on a private vessel. The yard's markup isn't about safety, it's about turning a $120 job into a $500 invoice, all by selling you on your own imagined incompetence. Owners who tackle this job discover the wiring. Mystique is just color-coded fear. Once you've done it yourself, the only thing left to worry about is why you ever let someone charge you 5 times the real price for your boat's most basic lifeline. Number 4. Cutlass bearing replacement is where the yard's specialist narrative hits full throttle. The Cutlass bearing, an unassuming sleeve that keeps your propeller shaft spinning true, gets recast as a job for certified hands only. A yard will quote $400 to $800 for this swap, citing the need for haul-out, alignment, and precision tools. But the real story is in the numbers. A replacement bearing kit runs $50 to $100, and with a shaft puller often rentable for less than $100, the job lands squarely in the realm of a determined owner. 3 to 4 hours on a Sunday afternoon, that is all it takes if you have a cradle or jack stands and the right tools. The procedure is methodical, not mystical. Haul out, remove the prop, slide out the shaft, split the old bearing, clean the housing, press in the new sleeve, and reassemble. Alignment checks are done with a straight edge or a $20 dial gauge, no need for proprietary shop gear. The real test is vibration at idle. If the shaft runs smooth, you have done it right. Yards love to invoke the specter of catastrophic misalignment, but the reality is that most failures come from rushed work or skipped checks, not owner error. Insurers may ask for a certified sign-off, but in practice, a documented alignment test and a vibration check are all that is needed for most policies. The yard's profit comes from the illusion of risk and the barrier of tools. Yet every hour billed at $150 is a reminder you are being charged not for skill, but for your own hesitation. The Cutlass bearing job is a litmus test. Take it on, and you are no longer just a boat owner waiting for permission. You are the one who decides when your shaft is true, and you keep the savings as proof. Chainplates are the steel backbone that keeps a mast standing, yet their failure is almost always hidden beneath a cosmetic patch. In most yards, a smear of sealant and a glance for rust pass as inspection, leaving owners with a bill of $500 to $2,000 and no real assurance. The real threat is corrosion, white streaks, pitted bolts, subtle movement at the deck. Over half of rig failures can be traced to chainplates, with salt water eating away up to 40% of the metal in just 5 to 7 years. The difference between a safe boat and a disaster is what happens beneath the surface. A full reseal costs $40 to $100 in materials such as marine epoxy, silicone, and stainless bolts. The process is methodical but not mysterious. Support the mast, loosen the bolts, pull the plate, and inspect for cracks or pitting. Clean to bare metal, lay a 3mm epoxy fillet, torque the bolts to 75 to 85 Nm and finish with UV-resistant sealant. Each plate takes 2 to 3 hours. No special certification is needed, just a torque wrench, socket set, sandpaper, and a willingness to look for what the invoice never lists: real safety. Yards profit from speed and fear. They warn that only a certified rigger can sign off. In reality, the law requires a competent person and a documented torque check. The real risk is trusting someone else to hide corrosion behind a bead of caulk. Coming to the top 3, the diesel heat exchanger flush is where the yard's pricing logic hits full throttle. A shop will quote $300 to $700 for what amounts to a simple chemical bath, then pad the bill with environmental fees and system diagnostics. The reality is far less daunting. A 5-bucket do-it-yourself flush using a $25 citric acid kit and a borrowed utility pump restores your cooling system for less than the cost of a marina lunch. The process is straightforward. Disconnect the exchanger hoses, circulate the cleaning solution for 2 hours, then rinse with fresh water. The only real red flag is heavy scaling. If you see flakes or rust in the flush bucket, you know it is time for a more aggressive clean, but for most boats, a seasonal flush is routine maintenance, not a technical hurdle. The real obstacle is not complexity, but the story you have been sold. Yards invoke EPA disposal rules as a scare tactic, implying that only a licensed shop can legally handle the waste. In truth, the EPA guidelines are clear. Collect the spent solution, neutralize with baking soda, and dispose at your local hazardous waste site. No certification, no special permit, just responsible handling. The markup is pure theater. Every owner who runs a flush pump and watches the coolant clear learns the same lesson. The yard's $500 invoice is a toll booth, not a technical necessity. Do this job yourself, and you do not just save hundreds, you break the cycle of dependency, reclaiming both your wallet and your confidence. The ocean belongs to the sailor who knows what flows through their own engine. And finally, in first place, standing rigging refresh is where the myth of yard indispensability collapses in broad daylight. Here is how the invoice breaks down. A boatyard will quote you anywhere from $1,200 to $2,500 for the privilege of swapping out stays, shrouds, and turnbuckles on a 30-foot cutter. The parts themselves are stainless steel wire at $2.40 a foot, turnbuckles for $12 to $18 each, and retail kits that land in your cart for $600 to $1,200 total. The rest is pure labor. Markup: $150 an hour, with the actual rigger earning just $26. For the owner, the yard's estimate is gospel, salted with warnings about catastrophic mast failure and the supposed need for certified hands. But the real story is a morning's work aloft, not a week in dry dock. The steps are methodical. Support the mast, unpin the old wires, inspect every turnbuckle for hairline cracks, measure and cut new wire, swage the fittings, and tension each stay with a $60 gauge. OSHA and ABYC standards call for a harness, a reliable halyard, and a second set of hands on deck. Nothing more exotic than what every prudent sailor already owns. In practice, a competent owner can replace a single stay in under 2 hours or a full set in a long Saturday, with the only real challenge being patience and double-checking alignment. The safety margin isn't in the yard's invoice, it's in your willingness to follow the checklist and trust your own hands. The industry's last line of defense is the specter of insurance denial or regulatory wrath. But the actual requirement is simple. The rigging must be serviceable and meet manufacturer specs. No license, no secret handshake, just a documented tension check and a log entry. Every dollar you save is a direct transfer from the yard's profit column to your cruising fund. This is the moment of sovereignty, the day you realize the ocean belongs to those who can maintain what carries them, and the only thing standing between you and mastery is the story you've been sold. Across all 10 repairs, one pattern is undeniable. The industry thrives on keeping sailors dependent, not because the work is impossible, but because the illusion is profitable. When you see the real costs and steps, it is clear. I take whatever the yard tells me and triple it, then I know what it will really cost. The ocean belongs to the sailor who understands and maintains what carries them. That is true seamanship.